It is week 8 of my winter garden here in Houston, Texas, so it's time for an update. Here in this first 10-foot long bed, we have a really small broccoli head, which I'm very pleased with because this plant was devastated by mice coming in and eating all the foliage. So it came back from almost nothing and actually produced a broccoli head. Couldn't be happier with that. Things here are shaded by the house, and so they don't get much light, but you can see they are growing well. Matter of fact, they're growing so well that we've done quite a bit of thinning here and harvested a lot of lettuce. I'll show you that here in a second. If you can see through here, this is some of the things you want to look for when you go through on a weekly basis or a daily basis, and that is leaves that are old and no longer producing at the maximum, or leaves that are maybe touching the ground, as you can see maybe back here, and have lost their color. So I just come in here, I'll just pop that off and completely remove that from the garden. I don't want that sitting in the garden where it's going to cause possible disease or insects. So that needs to be removed from the garden to the mulch pile or wherever you put your vegetation when you remove it. Here the deer tongue greens are doing very well. We harvested almost all of them, but I want to leave some because they're so delicious and very tender. The red sales lettuce here is doing great. I'll be doing some more harvesting here today. Probably take most of these off here and leave the top ones on. We have really enjoyed some amazing salads this last couple weeks from the lettuce that I harvested here earlier. All of this lettuce here, the butter crunch was amazing, was delicious, and we had that in salads. If you notice, this broccoli here is actually growing outside of the box. The broccoli head is here. What happened is the plant, as you can see, grew all the way sideways and then started growing up. Thickened up, put on a nice broccoli head, and so it's growing well. Very happy for that. Here's the 8-foot bed with the edible flowers we have here. The Brussels sprouts are growing well. The pak choi, could not be happier with it. Nice and green and full. Everything's growing great here. Here we have the sugar snap peas. They're growing well. Probably slower than I had anticipated, but I think that's because they have no protection from the wind or the cold. When I get the plastic up here later this week, I expect them to really start growing much faster. Looking forward to some awesome sugar snap peas here in maybe another month or so. Here are my yellow and white onions going down this row. They're all doing very well. Very pleased with their production here. I wanted to show you this garden hose here because of one of the mistakes I made, and that is I planted 2 rows of beets here, and as you can see, this row of beets is almost lined up with the center of this 4-foot bed. That means it's way too far away from the automatic watering, and the water does not reach out 12 inches away. So when you're planting your plants, make sure that you plant them appropriately and keeping in mind where your automatic watering is going to be. So other than this small row of beets, I don't have to water anything, but I have to come out every day and make sure that these plants are getting watered here. These beautiful edible flowers actually end up in our salads. My wife comes out here and picks them, and we enjoy them quite a bit. We've picked most of the butter crunch lettuce here. It's really kind of at its end. It'll probably be taken out this week. Broccoli is still growing here, doing pretty well for it not being covered. And I noticed that the closer I get to the wind block that I built, the healthier the broccoli plants look. You can see some wind damage here and some maybe freeze damage over there. The heads are looking pretty good, but when you compare it to the broccoli in the covered bed, there's really a huge difference. Nice big full heads. We could actually start harvesting these now and they would be very tender. We have 30 plants of broccoli, so we'll probably just start picking them whenever we want, maybe 1 or 2 a week, because they're going to continue to grow, and I know from my experience they're going to continue to grow very, very large. Over here the cabbage is going great, getting a nice heads on here. If I look underneath, I see that I've got some leaves down here on the ground too that are discolored. I want to take these leaves out. I can come in and just kind of break them off or use my gardening scissors to get rid of those, which I'll do. These also can be added to a smoothie or something else. You can see when I put the plastic on that some of the leaves get broken, and this would be a good candidate to cut off and put into a smoothie. Over here is my red onions. They're doing great. This one here is a couple inches below the bend in the arch, so they're growing very well. Very happy with these onions. And let's take a look at the strawberries. We've got strawberries growing, we got blossoms, we got strawberries all over the place here. Looks like I may have some bugs here, so I'll have to take a closer look at that. These aren't growing very fast, but they do look healthy, and they're really not quite into season yet, so I'm not concerned about them. I hope these updates are helpful to you to kind of get an idea how our plants are growing, the rate they're growing at, and the size of produce that we're getting from them. Make sure you check out the links below to learn more about the Mittleider gardening method, and specifically I have a link to the Mittleider gardening course book, which has this chapter on pruning vegetable plants for maximum production. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear.